You guys, I'm glad we're not in person because I'm sweating and shaking right now. I love Christine Brennan so much. I'm gonna fangirl like mad and try to also maintain professionalism. So bear with me while I do this feat. I am so excited to see her again. I don't know if she'll remember we've met before, but I just want to tell you a little about her. And I went to just make some quick notes and my brain exploded because I couldn't figure out what were the most important things to say. I want to first thank her for being with us from Paris, where she's covering the Olympics. I know there's a time difference and we appreciate that. Thank you so much. And your time is valuable. Those of you who may not be familiar with her work, and are in fact living under a rock. She's just an award-winning national sports columnist right now for USA Today. She's also a commentator for CNN and ABC and PBS NewsHour and NPR and the whole alphabet soup. She's also a best-selling author. She's written, I think, 7 books, correct me if I'm wrong, about everything: football, ice skating, a memoir. I wish we could keep her here for hours and pick her brain about and pick her brain about that. She was named one of the country's top 10 sports columnists 3 times by the Associated Press sports editors. And the number I have is that she's covered the last 20 Olympic Games, winter and summer, but now we add 21 if that number is right. So that's exciting.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I've been trying to unmute and mute and whatever, but yes, this is number 21. I just arrived just a couple hours ago, so it's been a long day, but it's great to see. I'll let you keep going. But yes, number 21. I wanted to let you know that I could speak, and I'm happy to talk.
Good. 21 is wonderful. You can drink. She she was the first woman sports reporter at the Miami Herald, first woman to cover Washington NFL team, formerly known as something we don't say anymore. And she was actually one of the first people, I think, to not use their former name. Staff writer at the Washington Post. This is in the 80s. She's president of the first Association for Women in Sports Media. She was the first president of that organization. I got to slow down. I'm very excited. And one of the things that I think is really cool that she's done is she started an internship scholarship program for young women, and over the past 2 decades have helped hundreds. Her USA Today columns, I remember on Augusta, were some of the first to sort of trigger the conversation about the lack of female members at that club. She's been a voice on so many topics that are really important to everyone that does journalism: empowerment of women in sports, sexual abuse in the Olympics, domestic violence in the NFL, sports activism, you name it. And what another thing that I love about her is on her website, she actually has a whole section with advice for students. And she and I met briefly. I don't know if she'll remember this, when she came to visit the University of Alabama. I'm in Pennsylvania now, but I was there and she spoke to some classes. And if I may just share a 20-second personal thing about that visit. I had just written on AL.com, the state's largest news outlet, about sexist language that one of our sports columnists had used. Or I was about to post it that day, and I was feeling very nervous. I didn't tell her this, but I was feeling really nervous because this is somebody that it was a former colleague and that I'd worked with and that was my friend. And still, I didn't feel like this sort of sexist language could pass in this sports columnist and call out. And she was kind enough to sit down with me and give me some quotes for my article and also help me feel a little solidarity in that moment. So that was just a great moment. And you probably didn't even register on your radar, but I really appreciated it so much. So without further ado, we are really, really pleased to award the excuse me, Ernie Pyle. I'm sorry. Award to Christine Brennan. I'm getting choked up, but not because I'm emotional, just because of allergies. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for being here. And I think Kevin has the award that we will actually mail to you. He's going to pop up on the screen in a moment, but thank you for being with us.
Well, sure. Yes. I'll pause.
The Ernie Pyle Lifetime Achievement Award, proudly presented to Christine Brennan by the National Society of Newspaper Columnists for her groundbreaking contributions to the world of journalism this 20th day of July, 2024, and Lori's gorgeous signature at the bottom. I could not have pulled off. It's lovely.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Is this the time for me to say a few words?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Well, this is wonderful. What a lovely, lovely honor. And Meredith, I do remember that. And I remember because I'm one of these people that, just run through a brick wall. It's like, how on earth did he say those things? And I remember it for sure. It was, I think, 2015 maybe that I was there.
Somewhere around then, I'll find it and stick it in the chat so everybody can see what I'm talking about. But it was somewhere in that ballpark. Yes, yes.
Yeah, because I ended up going to my first, hard to believe I'd covered Alabama on the road or in bowl games, but I'd never been at a football game in Tuscaloosa, as I'd been in, zillions of Big Ten games and whatever over the years, and of course NFL and Super Bowls, but I just never been to Alabama for a football game. So anyway, I ended up staying that weekend with Stuart McLaurin, who's now in charge of the White House Historical Association, and he's a friend of mine. So anyway, bottom line is I remember the whole Andy Billings, of course,
Yeah.
and all of the opportunity to spend time with students and you, and then when an issue pops up, and I mean, we kind of hate it when issues pop up, but we kind of love it when issues pop up because it's you wish they wouldn't, but once they do, it's one of those things where it's okay. As a journalist, you can fly into action, and so I was very happy to be able to help if I did, and honored to just get a chance to chat with you. So again, Meredith, thank you so much for your kind introduction and this kind award and honor. And it was Telly who got in touch, and I guess you guys have been trying to reach me, and I thought I was really reachable, but I guess maybe not. I must admit I'm not on LinkedIn, and I know I do not have a USA Today email address, but everything else, including my website, I'm all over it. But and DMs on Twitter or whatever. So I'm glad you found me, Telly. Thank you for your kind words, and I really appreciate your efforts on my behalf, and also for being able to. You'd sent an email just a little while ago that was just absolutely lovely, and thank you. That's a keeper. I really appreciate the kind words and that your sentiments that meant a lot to me. So thank you. Thanks to both of you, and to Lori Duff, and as I understand, Jerry from the Ernie Pyle Foundation. Thank you. I think I've touched on everyone who was involved in this. And if I miss someone, thanks again. And the Ernie Pyle story is one that is near and dear to my heart. I grew up in Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, went to Northwestern, but my three siblings all went to Indiana University. And so I'm well aware of the connection with IU, Indiana University, and Ernie Pyle, and the journalism school being named after Ernie Pyle. I hope it still is. I know it was for a long time. And of course, his amazing story. So it's especially meaningful, and thank you for that. And otherwise, I just say that I don't think there's been a more important time to have our voices heard as columnists, as editorials, whatever it might be, but certainly newspaper columnists. I guess we might say web columnists on the web as well, and on the internet. But it's so important, and I've always thought as a sports journalist that I'm a journalist who happens to be covering sports, and by that I mean my training, Northwestern undergrad and master's degree. I really never covered sports. I learned to be a journalist at what I believe is, I'm obviously very biased, but the best journalism school in the country. It's why I went there. Again, I realized there are many others who could chime in on that one. But I just love Northwestern. I'm very involved to this day. But I learned again, how to be a journalist. And so when I was covering the Washington football team, or when I was covering Miami Hurricanes, even before that, when I started my career in Miami for those first 3 years, and then to the Washington Post, my dream job, for 12 years, and now my dream life with USA Today and TV and books and speeches and everything that I'm so fortunate to have carved out. The idea of asking tough questions and writing difficult things, the truth, but sometimes it can be hard, especially if you're covering a football team where I had to be out there every day with that team. So I'll tell you this, one day, the great Sonny Jurgensen, and it was at that time the radio and TV announcer, he and I were sitting on a bench out at the park, the R-word park, right by Dulles Airport in 1985 or 86. And he looked at me, and at this point I'm on the beat. I'm the first woman to cover the team. Joe Gibbs was great. Totally class act, fabulous person. I couldn't say enough great things about Joe Gibbs. Obviously, I think the greatest coach in football. winning 3 Super Bowls with 3 quarterbacks, not a one of whom will ever be in the Hall of Fame. No coach has ever done that. And Gibbs just a class act every way, because that's tough. A woman for the first time ever is being thrown into cover your team and in the locker room, which of course is the workplace, weird workplace nonetheless, have to have equal access for women and men in the locker room, which has been resolved since 1985, thankfully. So it's a long, long time ago, no longer relitigated on any of that part of it. But Gibbs was great about it. So anyway, I'm sitting there next to Sonny Jurgensen, and I'm doing, every day I'm doing my job. I'm out there and I'm reporting. And if it's I'm saying good things, I'm saying good things. If I'm saying bad things, I'm saying bad things. I'm trying to interview people who fumbled in the big game, or gave up 3 touchdown passes, or whatever might have been the case. I was an equal opportunity journalist, just asking the questions and writing the stories. And Sonny Jurgensen looked at me and he said, you don't have many friends out here. And again, I'm in my 20s at this point, and I looked back at him and I said, that's okay. I've got friends. I don't need any more friends. I'm doing my job. And he looked startled, because I guess most of the people who came and covered sports were, cheering for the team or whatever. Obviously, there's no cheering in the press box. And I've never, even here at the Olympics, I would never cheer for anyone, an American athlete. I mean, I know them and I want them to do well, but there's absolutely no outward show of emotion in any way, shape, or form. There cannot be. And yet we're the only journalists here in Olympics, the US journalists. Everyone else is, they're cheering their brains out, Sweden, Canada, whatever. So, but that's okay. We're doing what we do in the First Amendment. But anyway, bottom line is, I've always felt very strongly, and it's my background, and it's that training I had at Northwestern, and it's my parents and the way I was raised to ask questions and to be inquisitive and to be curious and to follow up, and to not necessarily, if someone says it's true, well, what's the old line? If your mother says she loves you, check it out. I had a professor at Northwestern that always said that. We all laughed, but so that's how I've lived my whole life and my career. And I've been doing this for, my goodness, 43 years. And I love it more today than the day I started. And here I am at my 21st Olympics, and I've already done a TV hit from here earlier, and I'm off and running, and I'm just so fortunate. So I'm honored again to receive this award, named for one of the most famous journalists of all time. And I'm just thrilled to be able to see all of you. And I thank you so much for this great honor, and for finding me, and for being able to work this out. And I'll say that this is going to be one of the last things I say on July 20th, because right now it is, 9:24 in Paris, and I got a few hours sleep on the plane. So as soon as we're done here, my day is complete. I couldn't top it in any other way other than being with all of you. And I think you can see that bed behind me. That's where I'm headed next. So again, thank you. Really, thank you so much for this amazing honor, and keep up the great work you're doing. It's so important. I really appreciate it.